All right. What is up, everyone? I'm excited to be back. My name is Shane, aka Riot, in the group Girl of Poets, and I'm here with.
Lynn. Mama Lynn, how are you all?
Yes, we get excited to do this every month. We sit down, we record a video of us creating some art and having a discussion. So I've been thinking this month, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And I've been thinking about, mementos. And I've been thinking about, what's important when it comes to, how we take care of the way we think, right? And it's really hard when you have things like chronic depression that are challenges that might get in the way of how we talk to ourselves and how we view the world. But today I think I want to focus on limiting beliefs. I think I want to focus on limiting beliefs. So there's this book that completely changed my life called Claim Your Power by Maston Kipp. And in it, it takes you through like all of your limiting beliefs and your survival patterns. And survival patterns are basically like, let's say there's an incident in your childhood, trauma, right? So there's trauma, and then your body and your mind, which are very close connected, try to figure out a way to protect itself from the experience, right? So that's where you get survival patterns and that's where you get limiting beliefs. So I'm going to give an example and then we're going to have a discussion about like how the way you think about yourself, the way you talk to yourself, the way you think about yourself influences the beliefs you have about yourself and inevitably that the choices that you make for yourself. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So here's what happened. So in the book, it talks about like OIs, which are original incidents, right? So it's the moment you learn to believe. And you try to think back to the earliest moment. Yeah, it's called OIs. And you try to think back to like the earliest moment you remember learning this belief, right? So one of my limiting beliefs is that people who are older than me are not going to take me seriously. They're just not. Right? I already look young, even though I'm older. I ain't gonna say my age, but there is some gray in here. All right, coming through. All right, don't be fooled by the colored hair. There's some gray in here. All right. Um, but it's been hard because I'm little. I look young. You know, my students call me edgy. I don't know if they're making fun of me or if they really think that's a compliment. But it's hard. It's been hard for me to learn how to navigate that and move into a place of respect, right? But when I was little, I loved learning how to spell things, and I learned how to spell electrician, and I was so proud. And I remember, I like very vividly remember that I walked into a room where it was my parents and their friends, and I made the announcement. I said, I've learned to spell electrician, and I want to show you, right? And everybody was like, okay. And so I spelled the word electrician, and the audience started laughing. Like this whole group of adults started laughing, and I was like, why I remember being like, why are you laughing? Like I asked them, like, why are you laughing? I know I got this right. And they would not answer me. They just laughed harder. And they never did answer me. And I remember being so mad that I went into it was a room that was separate, right? I remember going into the separate room and just I remember telling myself, well, I'll never do that again.
Oh.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I was little, right? And it probably was because I'm little and I'm probably saying, oh, electrician, and they thought it was cute. But they didn't answer me. So I just felt like they were making fun of me. And so I was like, well, that's it. I'm not doing that again. And so that was the original incident. I learned like, oh, adults are not going to take me seriously. People who are older than me are not going to respect me or take me seriously. And how do you think that affected my life, right? So it's been a journey, right? So that is what we would call an original incident. So the belief is older people aren't going to take me seriously, right? So I had to practice rewriting that narrative because all survival patterns are just programs that your body puts in place to protect you. But you get older and you're like, okay, this thing is not protecting me. This thing is actually holding me back from the goal I want to achieve or the success that I want. So you have to address it if you want to move forward, if you want to grow, if you want to like get out of that. So I started practicing the way I view it and the way that I can honor the fact that I look young. And so now a lot of times I've had to shift my language a little bit. And an example of that is I do creative coaching, so I help other creatives be successful, right, and accomplish their goal or do this for a living, right? Because you can do art and poetry for a living. I feel lied to. People told me that you couldn't, and that's a lie. You totally can. Um, but when I have clients sometimes that are older than me, so I have to watch my biases going in. I have to make sure that I'm not thinking right out the gate that they're not going to listen to me, especially if they pay
Mm.
money. Because I'm gonna tell you what, a session with me is $72. Like they're gonna listen to me because they're paying me, you know. But I've learned that because of the way I look and because of just my background shining through myself, I will start with trying to tell them a solution, and they'll interrupt me to try to give me advice. And so
Mhm.
I have to learn that no, I need to put the solution before the story first. So I'll
Oh,
say, here's what you do, and here's how I discovered that. And so I've had to learn how to navigate the way I talk. And it's led me to a lot of success. And I don't really have an issue with this anymore. But I used to have a big issue with it in the past, and it kept me blocked. So that's an example of limiting beliefs. I would love to hear your thoughts on this, Lynn, before we get into any kind of art with this.
well, I have a story that I'd like to share too. One thing I wanted to say though is that there's another really huge moment of pivot that happened with you. So you have the original incident, right? That at least you can pinpoint. A lot of times it takes work to be able to pinpoint that. And the biggest one is the acknowledgement that there's a shift that needs to happen, right? But the second part is that you said, I set goals that I met. A lot of times that original incident can be so traumatic that it'll take away your value. It'll make you feel like I this cannot be a goal for me because it's not achievable for me, right? And so how do we look at what that moment was supposed to bring and could bring on both sides of the spectrum, right? Like what it did negatively, what it will do positively, and the thing between that space, how a lot of times it's so much easier to stay in the negative because boom, it's there. And that's the one that's really hard to get out of the mind, right? So my story, just I have always been someone and surrounded in a family that loved learning. I loved learning. Any project that I had at school when I was in elementary school was just like huge. We're gonna do this, it's gonna be so much fun, right? And I will say division was a mother for me. I could not get division. And I was there and I was practicing, I was practicing even after school, and I finally got it. Friday came for the quiz, the oral quiz, and I was there and I was going and I was going, and the teacher was really, really impressed. And all of a sudden, it was down to just me and this other student, and I did not get the last question right. He did, and on Monday, he was placed in the advanced math class, and I was left there. And math to this day for me is such a fear. And it's
Mm.
really interesting because that moment probably lasted a minute. And that one negative moment was a minute. Meanwhile, all of my effort and joy of learning was so much longer. And that just boom, it just crushed it. Right. And so,
Oh, God.
how, the idea of like these original incidents when they happen, how how can we see, okay, what is my what is it that I really want? And who is it that I really am? And write down the negatives and the positives, right? And so it's like, so that way you can really look at, well, where does this belief come from? If we're talking, because most of our, like you said, our beliefs are the ones that limit us are there because of some kind of negative approach. Even the way that you said that when you're speaking with your clients, that you
Right.
start with positive first. You start with the thing that they can relate to first, the thing that can give motivation and inspiration, right? As
Right.
opposed to giving the story, because the story is perception. You can get lost in it sometimes. But like
Totally.
really going from boom, this is what you have to gain. So that then when you're already addressing the loss, the gain is the first thing in the brain. The gain is the first thing in the brain.
All right, now that's a meme. Now that's gonna be a quote. We're gonna quote you on
So
that.
that was my story, but yes, I'm excited about
I think you said
mindset.
I think you said something really important. The fact that like you had all this joy and like all this joy and like the process of the learning of the math, it's like it was all gone with that 1 minute incident, And that happens a lot with depression. Like you could just I it so recently, I'm gonna be completely honest, recently with me, I was a finalist for Poet Laureate of Charlotte. And that's a pretty big deal. Me and Ja both from our group was. And and I told them, I was like, y'all, this is still a big achievement. Put this on your resume. And now you can't play small anymore because when you're seen in this way, it means that, you're seen as a leader in your industry. So even though you didn't get the position, it's still like that's still a huge honor, right? And I meant that, and I was so glad that Jay got it because Jay Ward is incredible. He's our new poet laureate of Charlotte, and I think that they made the right choice, And so I was completely fine with everything. The very next day, I started getting imposter syndrome. And it's like that silver. I think one of my friends recently, I think Asia called it like the silver medal syndrome or whatever. And it's like you just all of a sudden, it's like all the good stuff that happened because of this is just gone because of this one doubt, this one fear, this one whatever it is. And it's like it just sucks the joy right out of everything, And it's really hard to shift our brains to not focus on the negative of situations. But our brains are wired that way for survival. So it's hard. But when you were talking, I love the idea of okay, so I'm gonna do like this Venn diagram thing. So we have like the negative, right? And then we have the positive, and then here in this middle, right? There's the opportunity, right? This opportunity, this like a gateway. It's like between understanding the negative and between understanding the positive. There's this gateway of opportunity where we can become something new. We can reprogram ourselves, right? So if my limiting belief was adults are not going to take me seriously, what are the negative aspects of that? What are the positive aspects of that? And then who can I be without that limiting belief? Who can I be when I let that go or when I embrace this and decide to pivot, right? So that's what I saw is like this Venn diagram. So for me, it means that I'm a coach right off the bat. Like it allows me to coach other creatives, and no matter what their age, right? Because I work really well with teens, and I work really well with middle schoolers and adults. It's been a shift, right? Especially older adults. So for me, I become like a leader in the coaching industry. The negatives over here would be, not taking opportunities because I'm afraid that no one's going to listen to me anyway, right? So playing small, not growing my business because what's the point, right? You start having language around the limiting beliefs. Um, Another negative would be, let's see, uh, Pettiness? I'm gonna put pettiness. How do you spell pettiness?
I think it's
Pet.
with a, is it a Y or no?
I don't know. We're gonna put a Y. So because, like, I have biases around people who are older because of the way I was treated in the past. There might be pettiness, there might be resentment.
Yes. Um, control issues.
Ooh, yeah, control.
Because here's the thing, the whole idea is what's in the middle. The whole idea is that you want to fully experience what it is to be a coach. So that removes it from the person you're coaching, and that removes it from your goal to be a coach. You're just showing up to the experience of it. So whatever goal you meet there, then it's going to be wonderful. That's the thing. Like, so when we try to control, let's say the goal for one of the students is to not fail. Mira cómo estoy empezando. Look at the way that I'm starting. To not fail math. Well, let's
Right.
change it around, right? One of my goals before the school ends is that I'd like to get above a B average, right? So
Right.
that's what you put out there, right? But the thing is that even, so if you get that B, great. If you get that A, great. If you get a C, great. You know why? Because the point was that what the onset of that goal, what it offered, what was the learning, what was the experience that it offered you, so that then you can continue to build off of that.
I love that. I love that. Yes. And it's got me thinking too, because like the positive part is harder for me. And that really opened up like the way I could think about, because I could think about the positives of being a coach, like money, connection, being able to connect with people and offer solutions through inspiration, financial freedom, a bunch of things, freedom because I'm running my own business and confidence. But like the positives that came out of the incident, well, it did make me be more independent. I was like, okay, well, I don't need no adult to do anything. I'm gonna do it myself, right? Which could also be seen as stubbornness, but but there was some independence gained from that. It toughened me up a little bit, so thicker skin.
Flexibility with approach.
Ooh, yeah,
You give, what the gain is before.
yeah,
You feel good. You feel good that you're able to help and that there isn't a disconnect between you and your client.
right. Yeah, so I think this is a really cool exercise. I might actually use this in my own coaching business. So like what I want y'all to do is do this for yourself. And if you now listen, if you are in a room with a bunch of other people and you don't want them to know, okay, you don't want them to know that these are the things that you're kind of challenged with right now, you can use symbols. So this actually could be an entire art piece. I used words, but you could totally use symbols with this and it could end up a really cool art piece. Let me see if I have this one book right over here. Yeah, it has like circles and symbols. This is really cool. So we did a book with Time Out Youth, and this is like the symbols. So it's all circles with like symbols, gender symbols going into each other. So your piece could end up looking like this, with using like these two circles and then the middle. So flexibility could look like a organic line. So it doesn't even have to be actual like images, it could be shapes. So think about like how you can decorate your paper. I'm using a Sharpie. You can use Sharpies, markers, whatever you have, and then watercolors as well. So
Use the
yeah,
colors as separations for the
yeah,
negative and the positive. Yeah. And the
yes,
overall.
yes. You could totally do the negative, like whatever colors you think are dark or negative. Or if this original incident has a lot of anger for you, like for me, that was anger, right? I got hurt and I got angry because anger is a secondary emotion. So remember that. There's something underneath the surface. You feel the pain first and then you get angry. Or you feel the fear first and then you get angry. So for me, this was a lot of I would say it would be a lot of purples, like bruises, and reds, you know. And then because it's a part of my business, I would do green, but also blues because there's been so much freedom that's come from this journey. So think about that, y'all. And that's gonna be the art piece for today. And again, play with this, have fun. Control issues could totally, if you weren't like more symbolism, control issues could totally be, for me, I see it as boxes. Like, I'm going to box you in. I'm going to try to control the way you do things. So I might do a bunch of squares on top of each other, I might do something like that.
Mm.
Resentment could be the side eye. I'm giving you the side eye.
That's adorable.
But allow yourself to be honest with yourself too, and don't overthink. Because everybody has limiting beliefs. We all do, because no one's childhood was perfect. It's like we've all been through something that has made us go, okay, we're gonna not do that.
Just keep this in mind. I think it's really the fact that you did the boxes with the control issues too. Like, we do all have limiting beliefs. It's your mind though, right? And so whatever it is that you are your biggest critic. And so whatever it is that you are condemning yourself for, no matter what the external factors are, you have the freedom, you have the control to be able to step out of that, explore something different. And usually I tend to think that the more outlandish and crazy the positive idea might be, is the thing that you probably should gravitate to more, because you feel that it's so far away from you. So maybe that's something to explore.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, and you're totally right. Um, we tend to steer away from things that, like, we just feel like, oh, well, for me, I can't speak for everyone, but for me, it's like the initial thought is, oh, that's not important enough to focus on. Yeah, it is, because it's showing up in my lifestyle, y'all. I had the book. There was another original incident that happened with a babysitter, and it was, I mean, as a kid, it was traumatic, but looking back, it was like it wasn't that big of a deal. But it completely changed like the trajectory of everything. And all it was I was hungry. I was in the back of the van, and my babysitter and her friends went to Taco Bell to get something to eat. And I said, can I have a taco? And she turned around and told me to shut up. Yeah. Yeah. Tiny, 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 tiny. And y'all, when I tell you, when I unfolded, because the book will take you through this, how to unfold it and unpack it. When I saw the pattern of that happened because of just that small incident, like the pattern of events that happened after that, you want to talk about going through emotions? I went through it was like I was a Netflix series. I went through anger. I was at the kitchen table crying. I was like, I got mad at that woman. Like, I was like, and I forgot all about that. Like, I hadn't even thought about that. And remember, but there, that moment, seeing how that affected everything else after that. Woo! Yeah.
One of the things that I'll say too, a lot of times when there is something that we want to change, I'm gonna like let's take eating right or exercising right. Those are things that for a lot of people we feel like, oh, like what? I gotta go to the gym, I gotta work out, I gotta strain myself, right? That's a lot of effort. Well, the wonderful thing about reprogramming, rewiring the way that we think, our mindset, is just writing. So even if something seems completely unfathomable, like you just not reachable, right? The idea that every day, if you can just write down 5 things that you're grateful for, 5 things that happened today that you're happy about, like the fact that you're working out the joy, the sphincters, the joy muscle, that right there will allow things to unfold in ways that you would never even imagine. So keep that in mind. Yeah, you can go to the gym and work out and bust your butt, or you can just, stay in your bed with your journal that's right there and write down 5 things that you're happy for today. And you do that and you just see the difference that it does for you.
Yeah, because and you're exactly right. Because if a small incident like that can change your life, then a small incident of investing in your own joy can do the exact same thing.
Exactly. Just
Yep.
pivot.
All right, y'all. Well, enjoy making this artwork. We're gonna hop off here because there's other things that we must do. We enjoy doing this so much with y'all, and we hope that you enjoy it too. And do this for yourself. Seriously, it's important. And you know you are loved, you are worthy, and y'all have an awesome week.
We're grateful for you. Be well. Bye-bye.
All right.
Awesome. That was great. Oh, I.